A multiplayer medieval hack-and-slash game called Mordhau recently come under fire from a couple of outlets that all began with PC Gamer for having toxic chats and apparently causing players to quit the game. Wait a second, players quit the game because of something that happens in every popular multiplayer game ever? That seems like a ridiculous scenario. How about we take a read further and find out what actually happened? And before that, I want to say late thanks to Ben, Marcio, and Tobias for the donations. You guys are fantastic. So Mordhau, if you guys don't know, is a medieval hack-and-slash video game on Steam that is PvP multiplayer only. Congratulations game, you're dumped straight into my not interested bin. The game is gaining quite a lot of popularity for many users, and it was released back in late April 2019, so the game is about 2 to 3 months old now. However, apparently the number of players are declining, which is normal for brand new multiplayer games after a couple of months, but is it really caused by the toxic chat? So PC Gamer covered this hoopla with an article titled "Rampant Racism and Toxicity Are Driving Players Away from Mordhau," as opposed to people getting tired of the game and not wanting to play more. The game has been released for a couple of months now, and during that time span, there have been quite a few games that come out. So why are people being bothered by the racism and toxicity? Let's continue on reading. The article starts with people being surprised that Mordhau becomes a really popular game, noting that the game sold 1 million copies. The article about the game selling 1 million copies was nearly a month ago, so this game has been very popular for quite some time, and yet people took issue with the toxicity now, as opposed to when the game sold 1 million copies or before. But for some players, Mordhau's fun combat has been tainted by a growing toxicity problem that sees racist, sexist, and homophobic slurs thrown around in both the in-game chat and the official forums, seemingly without repercussions. This is something that can be dealt with by, muting the chat. Yeah, well, that's a bit of a problem. We'll get to that. The article points to an example of a forum thread where the title post sounds like the N-word and people are saying homophobic slurs in the replies. The article didn't cite the aforementioned forum post, so I googled it and I find it surprising that it's still up and running with the original title nonetheless. So apparently the developers acknowledge that the forum exists and saying that it is one of the longest, oldest, and most active threads in the forum, full of creative loadouts from the community. A statement that I'm fully convinced is taken out of context. There is no way that a game developer, especially talking to a PC gamer journalist, say that a forum with a title like that and people saying that is the longest, oldest, and most active. You're just really giving ammunition to these journalists for smearing you. As for the title itself, we as a team don't find it racist or offensive, and considering the thread's content, we find it even less so. We do understand, however, that some people may interpret it as being racist or inappropriate if taken out of context. Okay then, never mind. The developers not only acknowledge that the forum exists, but they just don't really care. This is the first time I've seen a developer act this way. Yes, we know that these things might offend you, but nah, we're not gonna delete it. Quite ballsy for you to take this stance, Mordhau developer, especially in this politically correct climate, and especially when dealing with a very progressive outlet. This is the nicest middle finger I don't give a crap about you that I have ever seen. So the writer cited a Reddit post of someone complaining that the official Discord is a very... It's a guy with a very long N-word as a username and someone named Adolf with a picture of a certain famous Adolf. I think both of these are just trolls. I don't see why this displays genuine hatred or vitriol, especially when anyone can join Discord and make it to be like that. I mean, for God's sake, I see this every day. That's literally my brother's Steam profile picture. While the person pictured is one of the worst human beings in planet Earth, the owner of the account itself isn't doing anything hateful, unless I say anything bad about JoJo, which is not something that you should be doing to my brother. I learned that the hard way. The article cited another post with a server with the N-word on it. I know that this is bottom of the barrel, absolute low tier shock humor, but it did make me laugh because people are offended by this. Apparently the OP of this particular post went into the server and found out that it's full of racists, shouting the N-word and the F-bombs, hating on black people and gay people, and doing them because they're not offensive speech. I wouldn't say it isn't offensive, but it is definitely speech. Then they all kicked the OP for speaking out against them and bringing politics into the game. Well, yes, OP, these people are saying it because they can, and they want to shock people. You went to them and say that's offensive. Actually, the OP in general is a bit of an ignorant douche. Just merely saying the word is enough to make him think that a person is racist. I love how the OP straight up criticized another user for merely visiting the Donald. I'm just illustrating the kind of person that would complain about this. The thing is, with all of these words being said, I understand why people are offended. It's just that I don't see why you should be offended. These are very immature and childish behavior at best, and very discriminatory and offensive at worst. But the problem with this behavior is that you don't really know if the person behind those words is actually being serious. Sometimes people just type in the most offensive names and say the most offensive things because they think that it's funny. I mean, my brother certainly isn't vouching for ISIS anytime soon. He just thought that it's funny to have this guy as his profile picture. Unfortunately, reporting people seems to not be an option for the faint-hearted, as Mordhau doesn't really have a built-in reporting system. You can only report them by taking a screenshot, sending it to developers on the official Discord, and hope for the best. You can vote to kick in players during a match, but those votes often get lost in the heat of battle, and understandably so. People are very busy, and they couldn't be bothered to deal with you being offended when they have limbs to dice. But still, not being able to report players is a screw-up in the developer's part, and they have to fix that immediately. The article also noted that community servers are friendlier than the official servers, and they have active mods that punish abusive players on site. Not only that, but dual servers are generally pleasant too. Okay, then just go there and stop minding the official servers. Make your own private servers, which you can actually do that, but the game doesn't have the option by default. However, considering the game developer's really nonchalant response to PC Gamer, I believe that some people may have aired their concerns. They just got ignored because the developers don't really care in general. The article continues by saying that Mordhau suffers from a lack of moderators because there are so many people playing and so few people on the team. By the way, this is a Kickstarter campaign game, and the team is very small to handle such a large number of players, so of course they have a lot of things to improve in their moderation department. Turns out this article isn't just pointless fluff. The developers are also in the wrong here, and they need to fix this issue. Around 300 users have been banned on the forums, and around 300 on Discord, for offenses including racism, but the lack of moderators, combined with a misunderstanding about what constitutes racism and what doesn't, means Whoa, slow down, PC Gamer. I think that's a criticism that should be aired more to you and progressive publications in general. You don't know the difference between people genuinely being racist and people saying racist things because they think it's funny. And just like that one Reddit poster, your kinds of people are immediately activating their offend function when the N-word is said regardless of intent, because you can't compute intent. And thankfully, we have one segment of this article to illustrate my point. One Mordhau player with more than 110 hours under his belt got in touch with me last week to flag a user who was constantly posting racist comments on the game's forums. "We white people just can't have anything to ourselves, can we?" the user in question posted recently. "Now we can't even play our freaking video games in peace without some nog like yourself screaming bloody murder over the lack of negroids." The user's account is still active, and if you spend 5 minutes on the forums, you'll find many like them. This is so cartoonishly racist, it feels so much like the user is just straight up trolling you. I just cannot believe that someone legitimately has this opinion. It has to be a troll. It sounds like a troll. It's a very racist troll for sure, but PC Gamer seems to emphasize the racist part more so than the troll part. You're emphasizing the most irrelevant part of the conversation. You don't generally talk about the hangover potentials of drinking isopropyl alcohol. The article continues by saying that it's not just about a lack of resources. The developers just don't really care at all. They give a mute button in a recent update, but they don't want to add any sorts of word filter because people might claim that they're censoring. How about word filters for individual users? It doesn't have to be site-wide. Give the users the power to filter certain words that they might not like, the same way Twitter does it. In that way, PC Gamer and the rest of the ignorant crybabies won't complain about it. Also, did they really only add the mute button recently? One of the artists who work on the mute function said that they want to put the power in the player's hands. If they take an official stance and put an official filter list, people are gonna find ways around it, and it might catch innocent words, or people might claim that they're censoring. That's Actually, not a bad response. I mean, it would be nice to have individual world filters, but it can be patched in the future, give them time, and he's right, people are going to find ways to get through filters. And this is where PC Gamer flexes its agenda. With plans for playable female characters and a choice of ethnicity on the horizon, you can only create white male characters at the moment, I expect the vitriol to get worse. Ah, yes, expect people to complain that the game lets them to play as women and minorities in a setting where women and minorities are not that dominant. Do you guys remember this comic that I shared on Twitter and on my meme stream a while ago? I find it interesting that this comic attempts to highlight the hypocrisy of the crybaby misogynistic racist epic gamers when the opposite is actually true. Let's switch these two pictures, change the words, and bam! This is what's actually happening. I've seen people who attempt to justify the existence of women and minorities in impractical and unrealistic time periods because more representation. See my Rome 2 video on it for more details. But at the same time, I've seen people who are like, women should dress practically and realistically and not appeal to the fantasies of men. Otherwise, they'd be Harvey Weinstein in real life. See this video for more details. So it's fine if you change a game to appeal to your fantasy, but not when the game appeals to the fantasies of a specific demographic that you don't like. The PC Gamer article then speculates that the developers are attempting to implement a feature that lets them to disable women and minorities. One, how are they going to do that exactly? Replace every woman or minorities by generic white male models? Wouldn't that cost more processing powers? And two, you should update this section, PC Gamer, because the developers said that this is not a feature and that an official statement is coming soon. Whenever the topic of female characters is raised in the forums, it sparks furious debate, with players often citing worries about historical accuracy. When you're done adding females and can you add orcs and hobbits? It's not supposed to be historically accurate after all. You see how the slippery slope ruins everything yet? Reads one comment on a recent discussion. That's just one comment. And yes, the comment uses very offensive descriptors that I have to censor so that I don't get demonetized, but the point is still right. If you're going to add female characters and minorities, you'd make the game less historically authentic. But that's perfectly fine because it serves as a wank fantasy for the progressives. Or the developers want to add them. I mean, I don't have that much issue personally. I play Mount and Blade as a woman. I didn't even have that much issue with Battlefield 5's women as long as the game doesn't present itself as historically authentic, which unfortunately it does. The article ends proper by saying that without a sea of change in how Mordhau policed their chat forums, comments like, the one cited above, will continue unchecked. Wow, you don't even reply to the comment writer, you just said, please ban this, and that's essentially the entire point of this stupid hoopla. Please ban these particular comments, small game developers, because we couldn't properly use the mute function. A mute function that you just implemented, and we couldn't report users who offend us because we haven't implemented a system yet. You know what, both sides need to sort themselves out. To answer the original question, are Mordhau players quitting the game because the toxicity and racism? The answer is maybe. Some of them I'm sure, and it's not exactly unreasonable to assume that, thanks to the game lacking features and being able to tell other people to shut up, but there are definitely other better reasons to explain this phenomenon, and I feel like PC Gamer and many other outlets are overestimating the cause of this issue in order to push a narrative that people in the world are racist in the most cartoonish way possible. But with that being said, the developers really need to implement better moderation features for at least individual users. And that's my take. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna waste my time in much better games that let me have all the progressive opinion that I want and allow me to smash those stale Pepe avatars.